Our world is broken and fragmented. Famous evangelist Billy Graham has said that racial and ethnic hostility is the #1 social issue facing the church today. As people entrusted with the gospel, what is our response?
We began to think about how do we intentionally create a community where we would talk about these relevant issues of race and ethnicity and culture and all the contemporary issues, but using the theological framework of reconciliation as a way to discuss that. And so we began our Mosaic formation group at first with a much smaller group, learning how to do those two things well. And then 3 years ago, we decided to open that conversation community to anyone who would like to come.
Yeah, so the Mosaic Gathering is such a special place. You come in and there are round tables and you are served soup and bread each week.
You know, you walk in and the music is different from like what you might hear in chapel. There's like gospel music or something. The environment is welcoming. Everyone's friendly and talking to each other. You know, a lot of times you go to a class and you sit in the classroom and there's like, you're lectured at, but in Mosaic, it's around the table and you can share a conversation, a meal with people.
And there are Koreans, Hispanics, Nigerians, Kenyans, all at one table. And we all have the same purpose of loving one another through Christ. And hearing each other's pain, hearing each other's experiences. This can only happen through the gospel. Where else do you see this happening?
And it really helps me to see the gospel in a holistic manner, because when we have discussions in the gathering, we construct in a way that first we will do theological reflections, and then we will do sociological reflections, and then we will do ministry or pastoral reflections, and then eventually we'll bring all these discussions together into a panel discussion. And just going through these experiences really helps me to see how the gospel penetrates into our daily lives.
And how the gospel informs what is happening here in the US and other parts of the world with different crises, like the refugee crisis.
And people who come from all walks of lives. You have political officials, you have pastors, you have students, you have professors. And so to be able to hear that experience at a round table with soup and bread just brings all of us to this realization that we're all a part of the body and we all need each other.
For the first year, we center around reconciliation and community in the first semester. Students come in and they have an opportunity to share their stories and center around building community at Trinity. The second semester, they center around reconciliation and spiritual formation. So we look at the spiritual disciplines, those of service, of solitude, of submission, and these help to shape students formatively and develop them in a spiritual way as they think about reconciliation.
It has changed my expectations for Christian community in so many ways. And so I think the major gift that I got out of the cohort was relationship.
You can tell by the interactions, just the authenticity of the relationships, and people really being vulnerable and opening up themselves and just saying like, this is me. And people knowing your darkness and just accepting you with it too.
And it was one specific relationship that really changed my life for the best. And so it was this guy, his name was Will, white guy from the South. Just, you know, I'm a black girl from the South side of Chicago. And we really were blessed to develop a friendship that meant so much to me. We were able to pray with each other. We were able to challenge each other. And most importantly, what really meant a lot to me was he was a very big advocate for me and the ministry that he saw that God was taking me and leading me to. So to have that relationship and to be able to be real with each other, I mean, that was the foundation of our friendship. If you ask, how are you doing? it might lead into tears 5 minutes later because we really answered, how am I doing right now?
Because we all have different stories, we all have different pains, we all have different struggles. But one thing Mosaic has done is taught me to listen to other people who have had different struggles and different pains and different problems.
Listening also required a response afterwards, you know, like even just like consoling someone or encouraging someone, thanking someone.
I think what we're learning here is how to listen to others. And so whatever ministry we're in, even if it's not in a pulpit, we can still apply that to every day, reaching out to those who feel ostracized or minimalized or just pushed out.
I can look at them as a brother and sister in Christ and care for them and love them.
But another thing, a life-changing thing, is just being able to be surrounded each and every morning with prayer, with men of God praying for God to have His way, and not just their lives, but the lives of the community that we live in. So staying in North Chicago is a blessing because we've had Bible studies with certain people in the community. I engage at the high school that's right down the street, man. I go up there. I'm leaving here to go up there to teach Bible study.
I am co-president of Trinity Society of Women with Tiniko James, who is also a Mosaic scholar. As I serve there, I have realized that Mosaic has shaped the way I see ministry and the way I serve.
I'm currently youth pastoring at a Hispanic church, and one of the things that I did as a result of being a part of Mosaic was have a panel discussion, because a lot of things that we do at Mosaic ultimately lead to a panel discussion with different speakers and different students that will share and discuss some of the different topics. And so at my particular church, there's the first and second generation of Hispanics that are very different in their cultural background, and so we decided, I kind of came up with the idea of doing a panel discussion that would involve parents from the first generation and students of the second to kind of talk through some of those issues. And we ended up having a really big crowd come out for that at the church, and was a really well received by both the parents and the students, so much so that they want us to do it again. And one of the things that I've heard mentioned a lot at the Mosaic gatherings is that this is like the start of a conversation. And so that having that kind of dialogue at our church kind of gave everybody the opportunity to start a conversation without being offensive, without seeming to be attacking anybody. It created a safe environment to start talking about some of those things.
And the brokenness that crosses the borders from our Caucasian brothers and sisters to our Hispanic brothers and sisters to our Asian brothers and sisters to the African American brothers and sisters, there is a brokenness that is not, it does not discriminate, but also to see God's love does not discriminate.
My experience with Mosaic Ministries has been phenomenal. It's been very impactful in many different levels. It has been impactful in the individual level of students that have come to the church, work within the context of our church to make our ministries better. It has impacted my life as Mosaic Ministries impacting different groups that are in our community. It has impacted our church body with giving our people small business opportunities. We have been totally impacted at so many different levels.
As a teaching and learning community, Trinity is guided by 4 core values: Christ-centered, church-connected, community-focused, and cultural engagement. At Trinity, there's no better organization or ministry than Mosaic Ministries for embodying what those 4 core values are all about.
Trinity's Mosaic Ministries aims to advance the ministry of reconciliation and renewal in 3 ways. First, to equip students, and second, to develop and distribute resources, and third, to create new collaborations and networks.
Going through the Mosaic formation experience at Trinity, it is our hope that more and more leaders are equipped to lead well in today's broken and divided world. Trinity faculty member Dr. John Woodbridge often remarks that throughout American church history, reconciliation came before revival. It is our hope that God takes this small offering at Mosaic and multiply it to see God's kingdom come.